Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 156. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about the Defenders, Xbox Developer Direct, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and more. But first, we'll begin with our recent activities, and I'll go first because I realized Damian's been going first a lot. So, yeah, I went to MagFest, and MagFest was great, but, I didn't spend my entire weekend there. I spent a lot of it in the Airbnb watching various Marvel shows. So the Hawkeye rewatch I have here, I actually started during Christmas. I just recently finished it on that trip because I think I was on the last episode at the gym, and then I stopped, and then I just forgot to finish it. Anyways, Hawkeye is still a great show. I really enjoy that series for what it is. I think it is true that a lot of the sort of Marvel MCU television series lack from the fact that they are structured like a 6-hour movie. So that's why certain things don't necessarily add up right, and why they most of the time have terrible ass endings. So I think after Secret Invasion, they really thought about what they're going to do with the TV shows next, which is why Agatha all along is pretty damn good for what it is, especially, no one expected that to be good. And now we got Daredevil boarding it, which I am immensely hyped for, and I will talk about more later. But I also decided to rewatch the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show because obviously we got Captain America, Brave New World coming out. So I was like, let me go and rewatch this show, sort of the show that builds up Sam Wilson to finally take on the Captain America mantle. And, I forgot a lot about the nuances of this show. So, for example, why does Sam give up the shield? Why does he not take it on instantly after sort of Steve gave him his blessing? And it's because he didn't want it. He felt like that he wasn't worthy enough to carry it, which is 100% totally fine. I think that the show goes quote unquote woke, if you will. There's a lot of scenes and a lot of moments where Sam realizes he's a black man in America, and people seeing him carrying that shield means something to him. And every single time he picks up that shield, people will hate him for it, and he's just gonna have to live with that. And I think that is such a interesting way to go about it. And with Bucky's storyline, him trying to live in this new world now that Steve's gone, and he's literally the only one from his timeline left. And his story starts with him, I guess, when he was the Winter Soldier killing that boy. And then it goes back to the old guy that he's interacting with. He's like, my son just randomly died. And I was like, oh shit, this was a plot point. But they don't pick it back up until the end. And I was like, okay, that kind of sucks, but it makes sense for what's going on in the show, because there's a lot of shit. The first episode, after he puts the shield down, it goes right into a Falcon action sequence, and I'm like, okay, yeah, they want to establish this sort of in the same vein as the other Captain America movies, if you will. And yeah, I think Sam and Bucky's arc throughout this show, people love them on screen. They are always funny, hilarious, sort of the buddy cop duo. And, I hope that we see them within the new Captain America movie. I don't think so, just because of how things are structured with Thunderbolts and everything like that. So that's going to be a shame. But yeah, I think overall those two characters had really great arcs. And I think the final speech that Sam has at the end, where he is Captain America, and he's like, we got to fucking do better. I was like, yeah, that's right. That's my Captain America right there. He definitely knows what he's talking about. And the biggest character of this show is obviously John Walker. I think that, going back into the show, I was like, how is he going to be interesting enough to really be another character within the Thunderbolts, kind of thing? Because, everyone who watched the show remembers that one scene where he fucking took that shield and it got blood on it. That is still one of the most iconic scenes of this phase of the MCU. And he's such a compelling character. Honestly, when I was rewatching it, I was like, okay, yeah, he is taking on this role as Captain America. He's everything that the military would want. He has the achievements, the status, everything, but it's not based on the merits of him being a good person. Obviously Steve, the reason why he became Captain America is because he had a good heart, and he's the one that jumped on that grenade. They even bring that up within the show. He's like, yeah, I've friggin' John Walker says, I've jumped on 3 of them or whatever. But that's not enough to be Captain America in the world today kind of thing. There's got to be more to that, which is why, when stuff starts to happen and, he's tempted by the serum, which I forgot he took it. I was like, oh shit. He even asked his friend Lamar, which was a very good character to also have with him to sort of bring him down to like home level, if you will, sort of have him be like, yeah, I would take the serum. And then instantly next scene, John Walker takes the serum. I was like, oh shit, okay, this is what we're doing. And, I think the show also brings up the point that like, you don't need the serum to be Captain America kind of thing. Like Sam is just a fucking normal ass dude. And there's a reason why Steve gave him his blessing and everything like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed rewatching it. I think that I had a lot more fun watching it than I initially did back then. Because obviously, with the hype of Captain America and everything like that. And there's also a bunch of other things that I forgot, such as the Wakandans. They fucking show up once Bucky breaks Zemo out of prison, which is of course something that ties back into Civil War and everything like that. But yeah, if you are excited for the new Captain America movie, I implore you to rewatch the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I have so many other fucking notes here, but I'm not gonna go on for hours and hours and hours here. But yeah, it is a lot of fun, and I think that there's a reason why I loved it when I watched it the first time and why I still really enjoyed it today.
Yeah, I mean, I still really like the show a lot as well. Like, I think the chemistry between Bucky and Sam were like really good. Obviously, the John Walker stuff, that was really good as well. I think my only problem with the show is there was like a lot of plot points. I didn't really care too much about like the whole like I forgot what the terrorist organization was called.
The Flag Smashers, yes.
Yeah, them. I'm just like, I always like forget they were a thing. There was last scenes when they were on the boat. I know people made fun of that and they were just doing the boat thing.
Yeah, they try to, it's because right after the whole John Walker incident where, obviously with the shield, there's like a lot of downtime there, like everyone's just like in a lull. Like no one's doing anything. The Flag Smashers aren't doing anything. The US government isn't really doing anything. Sam's not doing anything, obviously. So yeah, like it was definitely a weird point for that to happen in the show and for them to go from that and then instantly into that conversation where Sam and Bucky are talking while they're tossing the shield around, and then Sam is getting prepped to actually become Captain America.
Yeah, so I am interested to see how they evolve Sam's character as like Captain America going to the new movie, because he's gonna be like the new Captain America, so it's gonna be cool to see him really because it's sort of like the origin story of him becoming more of that role. So seeing him be full-fledged Captain America in the next movie is gonna be pretty interesting. So and I always like the Captain America sort of movies being like the espionage, like a lot of army stuff, like that is always like a lot of fun. So I mean, we both love all the Captain America movies, so gonna be fun to see how that sort of turns out. And hopefully it's a good movie, because I know they did a lot of reshoots and stuff, but I think it's gonna be pretty good. So
there's definitely a lot of misinformation on that, because I did watch a YouTube video on sort of like what the actual truth is behind sort of like the reshoots and everything like that. The actual budget of the movie did come out, and it was like one of the, I guess, like lowest budgeted Marvel movies in a while, which is good, because obviously you don't want to spend too much money for not much return. But the whole like reshoots thing, I think they did one set of reshoots and it wasn't even for that long. I think the initial rumor of them doing reshoots for like months and months and months was just not true whatsoever. So I guess to those people out there, just I think it's called The Truth About the Captain America reshoots or something like that. I forget the exact YouTuber, but I did watch a video that really dove into sort of like the misinformation and sort of like the campaign of like hating on this movie and everything like that before it even came out. So
yeah.
And then another thing that I watched was obviously Captain America, the Winter Soldier, because I was like, yeah, screw it, why not? Like I'm already doing this entire show, might as well rewatch my favorite MCU movie ever, which is Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And it is still very, very good. Obviously, because I've watched this movie front to back so many times, it's kind of hard for me to really judge it without any bias. But yeah, I mean, I still love this movie. It is still a lot of fun, and the sort of burning down of S.H.I.E.L.D. is still insane to watch. So. And then the one game that I want to talk about, I have played other games throughout this week. I played like Resident Evil 4 sporadically, the remake, because my girlfriend, she's doing like what's it called, like hard mode, like the hardest, well, maybe not the hardest difficulty, but one of the hardest difficulties. But she didn't do New Game Plus, so like every single time she like gets stuck, she's like, "Can you like do it for me?" So like I'm doing like these random sections of like fighting like these bug monsters, these random bosses, and everything like that. I'm like, all right, like I'll do it, but like I don't really know what's happening, but Resident Evil 4 Remake is still a lot of fun. And we've been playing Resident Evil 5 on PC because I think it's $5 and there's multiplayer. So we've been doing that. A lot of fun as well. But the main game I want to talk about is BAKERU. So this is the next game that I'm going to be talking about for the channel, and it is I want to say AA game from Nintendo. I believe it is one of their internal studios made this. It was
good feel, I think.
Yes, good feel. Yeah. They made it in Japan, and then it recently came out in the States, and now it's getting a physical release, I believe, sometime next month, which is kind of crazy because when it dropped like randomly on the US eShop, I was like, okay, yeah, like they're just dropping this game. No real cares about it. So yeah, I mean, if you played the demo that it came out with all of those months ago, it's pretty much what that is. It just fleshed out a lot of fun, honestly. You know, it is like the goddamn studio. It is a good feel sort of platformer. Like there's not a lot of challenge there. I think the items that you can use, like there's an item where you won't take damage for like X amount of time. That is broken. Like when I face bosses, I'm literally just mashing the shoulder buttons because that's how you attack. I'm just mashing those until the boss is dead, and like some of the other items are kind of crazy. But yeah, it's pretty much just like a platformer beat 'em up. There's things that you could find in the world. Like there's these little, I think like tanukis or little yellow guys that you could find, and they give you like actual like advice about like random things about Japan or like actual real life stuff. And I'm like, okay, like that's kind of cute. And then obviously other like collectibles and whatnot. So yeah, you know, so far so good. I think that if you like platformers and just want one that will, you know, it's not too heavy on the story, obviously, but I think if you just want one that is, you know, nice, chill back, relax, but still a lot of fun, BAKERU is definitely it.
Yeah, I was definitely having my eye on this. It just came out at a busy time last year. So maybe if there's like some downtime this year, I'm definitely interested in that. I might as well get the physical release if it is coming out with that. So
yeah, it is.
Because I am very interested in that. Because I do like good feels games. They do make good stuff for Nintendo. So definitely interested in supporting like basically like a Goemon successor at that point. So. All right, so for what I've been doing, I haven't been doing too much, but I've been playing Dynasty Warriors Origins. This is the newest game in this series. And, you know, it's pretty interesting because I've played a ton of Warriors games, but I've never really played, like, the actual Dynasty Warriors IP. Because, you know, I think, like, a lot of people, I started with Hyrule Warriors, which came out in, like, 2014, 13, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like hooked instantly. I was just like, this is amazing. You know, obviously I loved it because it was Zelda, but I also really liked the gameplay too. You know, just that like 1 versus 1,000 gameplay, just mowing down armies of guys and stuff, and like a bunch of different characters. You know, it's a ton of fun. And ever since then, I basically played like almost every crossover one. Like I've played obviously the 2 Hyrule Warrior games, the 2 Fire Emblem ones, the Persona one, the Dragon Quest ones. You know, I played like a lot of them. So it's a series I really enjoyed. But again, I've never actually played a full Dynasty Warriors game. And it's not because I didn't want to. Just the ones that they were recently coming out with, like I think 9 and 10, I think they were like ass. Like I think no one liked them. So I was just like, okay, well, I guess I won't bother with that. But now like, here comes with Dynasty Warriors Origins, and it seems like they really want to like refocus on like, you know, like, okay, let's like focus on actual Dynasty Warriors, you know, none of this IP stuff. Like let's focus on what makes this series like so good to begin with. And I think they really nailed it. You know, a lot of people have been really liking this game a lot, and I am definitely one of those. I think this game really nails the feeling of like being in an army. Like you still have that 1 versus 1,000 gameplay. You know, you still can mow down thousands of dudes at once. You know, that's just how Dynasty Warriors is. But you know, you really feel like you're actually part of an army now. You could like charge with your allies and have these like huge epic fights. Like the enemy armies have like formations that you have to break, so they'll have like these shields out in front and shit, archers in the back, commanders in the back. Like it feels really fucking awesome just charging into that shit and just like mowing everything down. The combat too just feels like a lot better as well. Like you could like parry, you have perfect dodges, so whenever you do fight an enemy officer, it really feels like a proper fight. Then they added some stuff like from other Warriors games, like you have like different skills you could use. You could command your own army to do stuff, so you could command them to charge or do like your own like arrow barrage and shit. So all this stuff really adds to really feel like this really epic like a huge scale war that you're just playing as one dude, and it feels awesome. It also helps that like the game runs fucking smooth as shit like hell. Like, you know, I'm so used to these Warriors games being on like Switch and stuff, because that's where like a lot of like the more popular, you know, like Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors are at. And, you know, they run okay. Like Age of Calamity kind of ran like ass, but you know, the other ones are like okay. They weren't like lookers or anything, because, you know, you have to fill the screen with so much shit. But with this game, it looks great and it runs fantastically. Like The only times I had big frame drops is when like there was just like a lot of particle effects happening, but that's like very rare. So yeah, the game runs smooth. The gameplay is great. I love the sense of scale in this game. There's like a ton of content too, even though you only play as one guy in this game, which was sort of like kind of controversial when they announced that, because, you know, Warriors games are all about playing as a shit ton of different characters with different abilities. But, you know, with this game, to focus on one character, so it kind of plays more like an RPG. You have like, I think 9 different weapon types in this game, which keeps the gameplay variety up. You could sort of have like bonds with your different NPC party members. So it kind of plays a lot more like a I guess like an RPG with some elements. Like, it's not the strongest suit of the game. Like the story is pretty cool, but the voice acting leaves a lot to be desired. At least the English dub is very, very fucking so but I still think it's really cool how the game lets you like have, you know, branching story arcs, and you could choose like sort of like midway through the game, you could choose between 3 different factions, and they all have different endings and stuff. So there's a ton to play through. Like I finished one of the arcs Aravi, and that was Aravi like 35 hours of gameplay right there. So you could have like another like maybe 10-ish hours for the other endings and stuff, and there's some other end game shit. So yeah, the game has a shit ton of content, just like any other Warriors game. So yeah, I think Koei Tecmo and Omega Force, they did a very good job with this game. I think they really like salvaged the Dynasty Warriors brand, because it's been kind of floundering, you know, like it's like own IP for so long. So it's nice to see them get back with it with this game. So yeah, they did a fantastic job. Very addicting too. I've been very addicted to playing this game. Very good.
How many hours do you think you had?
I have like 30 hours. So I played a lot of it because I was like sick. So I'm like, I'm just going to play the shit out of this. And then I did. So fantastic game. Been really enjoying it a lot. And then the last thing I did was watch Defenders. So I watched 8 episodes of Defenders. I don't know what you and my brother both were like, oh, it's 6 episodes, right? I'm like, no, it's 8. So
yeah, no,
I don't know,
bro.
like,
I feel like I don't know. I guess it's because we think like maybe like the MCU stuff has like infected our brains or something with the 6-episode format. But yeah, you know, just give me your thoughts on Defenders, because this is my first time watching it in full since it came out. I watched more than halfway through, then my girlfriend just didn't want to finish it. So I was like, all right, we'll just watch like this recap video so you could get like the good Daredevil parts, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I am glad I watched it, because there's like a lot of important stuff for Matt and stuff. Like, you know, there's like a lot of important, you know, obviously them dealing with the hand. That's like a big thing about season 2 of Daredevil, and like a lot of stuff in season 1 as well. So, you know, I'm happy I got to conclude in, you know, the show. You know, is it perfect? No. Like, obviously I don't feel as much disappointment as maybe some other people did when it first came out, because, you know, this was all like leading up to this and stuff, and, you know, it ended up just being kind of whatever. I thought it was like okay. It's not like the best thing ever. You know, it's very much like more comic booky. If anything, I feel like the hand felt a lot less intimidating in this show than it did in season 2 of Daredevil. Yeah. Just because there was so much infighting. Like, I know they're trying to make it interesting, but it's just like, it kind of just feels like incompetent, like just didn't know what they were doing. But, you know, so like the main draw of this is, you know, the all the heroes sort of meeting up together. I watched a little bit of Jessica Jones. Like, I watched maybe like the first few episodes of that when it was like newish. So, you know, I was very kind of familiar with her character in Luke Cage. And, you know, I think they're great in this, you know, like, I like their personalities. I think they're fun. I do like the banter. Like, you know, it goes a little MCU-y with like how they interact with each other, but I think that's fine. When you're going to do a team up like this, you know, it's sort of expected. One character I was really interested in, you know, because my brother fucking hates this Iron Fist a lot. So I was really wondering, yeah. So I was really wondering, like, oh, how bad could he be? And yeah, he's like really fucking annoying in this show. Like, he's just a really whiny like baby boy, and like he doesn't do anything and gets like captured a lot. You know, no offense to the actor or whatever. Like, I don't know what else he's done, but you know, like the character himself of Iron Fist is pretty like, you know, I know that's the point. Like, he's supposed to be like whiny billionaire like boy or whatever, but like it does kind of come off like, okay, you're like really annoying. It's like, I'm the immortal Iron Fist. I'm gonna fucking fulfill the prophecy, and then like fucking gets captured every 2 seconds. So besides him though, like I do like enjoy the rest of the cast. You know, I thought whenever they did fight, it was pretty neat. And you know, I could get some context clues. Like, even though I didn't watch all of Jessica Jones or Luke Cage or Iron Fist, I could kind of understand what they're talking about. Like, I didn't feel like I have to watch them like to fully understand this. If anything, like the main thing you really should watch was Daredevil season 1 and 2 for this to make like a lot more sense. you know, when I think mostly the problem with the show is because it's split into like 4 different heroes. Like the first like episode or 2 feels very disjointed because it has to be like, okay, like we're gonna show you a little bit of stuff from Matt, we're gonna show you a little stuff with Jessica Jones and what they're doing. I show you a little bit of stuff with Luke Cage and he's getting out of jail or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think the first 2 episodes are like kind of weak just because of that. I'm like, okay, like, you know, they had to like stitch together 4 different like characters and plot points and all that shit together. And obviously
just to have that one moment where they all come together at episode 3.
So like, I understand, but it does come off as pretty messy. And, you know, obviously a lot of the side characters can't do much. Like, you know, Foggy and Karen can't really do a whole lot because, you know, it's not like they can't be like the main focus because, you know, you have all the other shit going on. And then when it comes with the hand, so I thought that stuff was fine with the heroes. You know, with the hand stuff is like, you know, I kind of more issues with just because like I feel like a lot of it, they just feel like really incompetent. Like I feel like they don't really throw any ninjas at them because I do feel like the fight scenes in Daredevil season 2 were awesome. Even though I thought the hand were a little silly, and I know they're an important part about Daredevil lore and stuff, but you know, when you go from like the crime stuff to like the ninja stuff, it does feel like kind of a whiplash a little bit. But you know, I thought like the hand were really intimidating. Same thing with I forget his name, like the main guy Daredevil fights in season 2, like not Elektra, like the other main ninja man. I'm forgetting his name. He like beheads him at the end.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, go on.
I forgot his name, but you know, you know, all his fight scenes were really sick, and like I feel like they had like a good rivalry between him and Matt. I feel like I didn't get any of that out of like the 5 fingers of the hand in this one. They were all like kind of pushovers, to be honest. Like Sigourney Weaver, like one, it was cool to see her in this. I didn't fucking know she was in this show, but she didn't do like shit. She just like raised Elektra and then like, oh, I'm just gonna get betrayed like fucking instantly. So so yeah, I know that was like the twist or whatever, but she did feel very underutilized in this whole show. So yeah, I felt like the hand stuff was like whatever the whole time. Like even the fight scenes I thought were like fine. Like all the stuff with Elektra was cool though. Like I did like, you know, Elektra coming back in and like, you know, her sort of like remembering who she was and all the stuff from that and like their complicated relationship. Like I think the stuff like towards the end when they were like fighting like down in like the fucking dragon bone area. Like I thought that was like really sick. It was a good fight and you know, so sort of them like dealing with their you know, opposing paths and shit together, and like how she's like, oh, I can't change. You know, it's more stuff from season 2 of Daredevil, but I thought they ended it, or they kind of went into it more in this one, and I thought that was good. All the things with Daredevil I thought were really good in this, except Stick dying. I feel like Stick just kind of like, I knew he was gonna die because he has like nothing else to do after the hand stuff. Like this is literally his whole point, but he does just die. Like he's just, oh, I'm fucking dead. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, Stick just being dead. So but yeah, besides that, you know, the whole like last episode I thought was pretty fun. Like I said, like watching them all fight together, that was cool. But yeah, overall, I thought the show was just kind of like, it was good. I was entertained with it, but I could definitely see why people were disappointed with it, and just like how messy it could have been. Because, you know, as someone that's really just there for Daredevil, I think it was fine. But I feel like if we were there for some of the other characters, I feel like Jessica Jones didn't do too much, or like Luke Cage, like. I feel like Jessica Jones probably got the shortest end of the stick. Like she was kind of just there, I felt. You know, Iron Fist, I was dealing with his, you know, he was dealing with the hand and stuff too. But, you know, whatever. Iron Fist was like whatever the whole time. But, you know, I'm glad they kind of ended the whole hand stuff. You know, I was kind of getting sick of them after like 2 seasons, basically, with Daredevil season 2 and this. So I'm glad they kind of wrapped it up for the most part. And we could get on to, you know, season 3 of Daredevil, which I've heard is really good. And again, I'm glad I watched it because I'm sure even if I did watch a recap, just seeing like, oh, Matt's just like dead and he's getting like resurrected. Because literally the first episode of season 3 is called Resurrection. So I am glad that I did watch it. And again, I was entertained. Like I didn't have a bad time with it, but you know, I can understand how people could feel really disappointed after all that build up and you get this, right? So yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about Nobu, right?
Nobu,
Daredevil.
yes,
okay,
yes.
Okay. I just looked up
Nobu
a wiki.
was cool.
But yeah, I mean, The Defenders was definitely a show that was boring as fuck to watch from my girlfriend's perspective, because I was like, you know, like you don't really care about these other 3 characters, and like you kind of know what's going on. Like I'm trying to explain it to her and everything like that, but you know, just me watching it again from start to finish, you know, it was fine. Like you said, there was definitely a lot of moments between the Daredevil cast that I forgot about, like when Foggy hands him the fucking suit. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you know, like even though they had that super rough patch within season 2, like they are still there for each other. Like they're still fucking boys. Like that's my guy, Foggy, you know, like he's still there for that. and alongside Karen, sort of like catching up with him and seeing that he actually did put up the Daredevil mantle and he's no longer doing all that stuff until obviously the Hand rears their head once more. But yeah, I think the show definitely disappointed a lot of people when it first came out, just because you watch all 4 of these shows and you're expecting this big, like Avengers level sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of whatever. The Hand especially, like, all of that infighting and all of that stuff going on there. Like, I know that they were trying to make it, like drama and sort of interesting, but it just never was. Every single time I saw them come on screen, if Electro wasn't there, I'm like, I'm on my phone. I don't care. Like, I don't care what you guys are saying or doing or sort of what you guys are bickering about, because they aren't really a threat. Like, they were kind of just there because they were going to blow up New York pretty much. Like, they were just going to blow up the city, and now these guys have to stop it. That's it. And then whatever infighting they were doing, it didn't really matter that much. So, but yeah, I mean, I still like the cast of Defenders, even fucking Finn Jones. I think that a lot of people will point out, even within, I think, Luke Cage season 2, he comes in and he's a much likable character. Like, he's much better because the writing's better. So I think if Marvel ever does bring back the other cast of characters, they definitely should, even Finn Jones. But I don't know what they're going to do with Iron Fist, because he is definitely the worst received character out of the 4. Obviously, people love Charlie Cox, Kristen Ritter, even Michael Colts, but poor Finn. Poor Finn. So we'll see what they do there. But
sorry, I wasn't a big Iron Fist enjoyer.
Apparently, Iron Fist season 2 is much better. I have not watched any of the season 2s of Luke Cage or Iron Fist, and I didn't watch Jessica Jones season 3, so I have no idea. I heard Jessica Jones season 3 goes fucking crazy for whatever reason, but anyways, yeah, Defenders, it's fine. I think that if you're watching it just for the Daredevil stuff, I still think you should watch it, because just watching like a recap video, I think the one on YouTube might be okay, might be fine, because it does give you all of the important stuff, like Stick dying, like the fucking whole building collapsing on Matt, and Elektra coming back, and then stuff like that. So yeah, because going from season 2 to season 3 is like a total whiplash. You're like, what the fuck happened? Like, what is going on here? But
it's kind of going from like Kingdom Hearts 1 to 2 while doing like the stupid spin-offs in between, even though they're not spin-offs. Like, you kind of just like completely lost, because like, what the fuck happened? So definitely watch Defenders if you or someone else is watching Daredevil, because that's something that also threw off my coworker when he was watching Daredevil. He was like, yeah, man, I went from like season 2 to season 3, and I was like, what the fuck happened? I was like, oh yeah, Defenders came out, so you gotta watch that. But anyways, speaking of Daredevil, let's talk about the news. So Daredevil Born Again, this is the exact headline from Games Radar, which is also part of SFX magazine, I believe. So Daredevil Born Again will fix the showrunner's biggest issue with the Netflix series. At its worst, it was 2 characters in a room talking about what a hero is. So that's a fucking clickbaity title, because that is actually not in the correct context. So you could see the full interview on Reddit. I actually just read it this morning, ironically enough. But yeah, pretty much the showrunner, he was talking about the previous version of Daredevil Born Again, which is, such a big thing that people talk about with this show. Because like whenever any show goes through any type of overhaul, it's always scary. And with a show like this, with a lot of expectations, when Kevin Feige saw what they had, he was like, this shit is not cooking. So we got to go back to square one. And they just pretty much took the existing Netflix series and then just put it into the MCU. So you know what? That is fine and dandy by me, because obviously that show is peak. So the fact that they were like, oh yeah, he's talking about the original Netflix show, without actually like asking him or like exactly digging deep into like what he actually meant with like the previous show, he was talking about before the whole revision, which he said at its best is fantastic, because that's when I instantly knew that he wasn't talking about the original series, because it's like, okay, everyone like praises that Netflix show so much, you can't just call it fantastic. It's got to be like something above that kind of thing. Yeah.
And I saw a lot of people on social media just like sort of being all doom and gloom, like, oh my God, guys, we're fucked. Like, this show's over, like this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's like, okay, yeah, like when we talk about the original Netflix stuff of those Marvel shows, every single one of them had 13 episodes except for Defenders. And they all had that mandate because, and because of that, a lot of those scenes, it was just people talking. But like, it works for Daredevil, because Daredevil could do that with Foggy. He could do that with Karen. He could do that with Frank. You know, like all
Yeah.
three of those characters is all three different interactions. But when it comes to the other shows, which the showrunner worked on both seasons of The Punisher, as someone who watched both of those seasons, there's a lot of scenes where Punisher's just fucking talking and like just talking about like what it means for him to be like in that Punisher role and like be that hero, quote unquote. And yeah, like it does get tiring. It does get boring, especially within season 2, because I feel like season 1 of Punisher was a nice condensed episode to, you know, to have him pretty much track down who the fuck killed his family. And like, I love that. I love that. Season 2 is kind of just like, he's doing stuff, you know?
Wait.
Yes. And season 2 is filled with a lot of those scenes where, you know, it's just two characters in a room talking about what a hero is. But then again, we gotta remember he's talking about the original version of this show, which I think is fair. I think it's fair for him to be like, you know, at its worst, it's just that stuff, because they've already done that within the Netflix series. Why are we doing a pseudo season 4 of Daredevil and we're going to retread that same territory? It doesn't really make sense, especially when you have fucking Disney, you know, like funding this shit. Like if you could do more action sequences, you could do bigger stories, bigger action scenes, everything, like just do it, right? You know, and I think that was a point that he made within the actual interview, was that like he wants to see characters doing stuff, which is fine, you know, like I love that. There's some other things that he said within the magazine thing, which is like Foggy's comic relief, which like a lot of people did not like, because it's like Foggy is most certainly not.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, not just comic relief either, because he does have funny one-liners and funny jokes with Matt, but he's also the heart of like Matt as a character.
Yeah, I would say he was like kind of comic reliefy in season 1, like kind of, but then like after that he became like, you know, a real.
Oh yeah, he's like,
he was always a real character, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, yeah. So
he was like, oh wait, this shit is serious. Like what the hell's going on? So, you know, like I definitely did not like him saying that. And some other things, like he didn't mention, you know, expanding the stories on Matt, Frank, and Karen. He didn't mention Foggy. So people are like, oh shit, is Foggy actually going to die? Is he not going to be within season 2 or whatever? So, you know, people are definitely concerned about that. But yeah, I mean, I saw faith within the show just because I am just a fucking fanboy and I cannot wait to see what the show actually does, because, you know, I'm definitely one of those people that didn't react negatively to that comment, because I'm like, they just want to do something different. And if this is different and it's good, then like I'm all for it.
Yeah, like, you know, it really just depends on how like well they treat like a lot of their stuff. Like just watch, like, you know, we basically have to wait until it actually comes out to really get it, because the Netflix show, you know, after watching like, you know, I guess 3 seasons technically, you know, if we want to count Defenders, but at least with Daredevil stuff, like it's just written really well. Like a lot of characters have a lot to do, and even if Matt isn't on screen, I'm like definitely locked in. Like, you know, I don't feel like there's ever a point where I'm like dozing off or anything. Like especially with, you know, like I think Karen like does a lot for that show too. Like she does a lot of really good stuff. Like if anything, I thought like the Karen and Frank Castle stuff was like the best parts of season 2 of Daredevil.
Yeah, more of that within Punisher.
yeah. So like I really enjoyed that part. And you know, Foggy again, like we said, like I don't think he's really comic relief. Again, maybe he you know, he is more comedic than the other cast, but like, you know, when he talks to Matt, like he gets very serious about, you know, his Daredevil things, and he's like worried about him as a friend and stuff. And you know, his character has a lot more depth than just being like haha comic relief guy. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think if they could really nail all that stuff, because again, it's not just writing Daredevil to be good; it's writing the whole cast to be good. So that's kind of like where things might get a little messy. So, and, you know, originally when they were even saying like, "Oh, Foggy and Cameron weren't even going to be in this," I'm just like, you can't do that.
That's why
So,
everyone freaked the fuck out, because it's like, how are you going to make a Daredevil show without those characters, right? Because they're the heart of the show. They're the reason why Matt is able to stay grounded within every version of Daredevil, whether it's in the comics or this show. You know, they always bring Matt back down to reality, and I love that. So, and I guess one last thing that I want to say is that, you know, Daredevil Born Again, this show wouldn't happen without Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio's sort of very protective over this franchise and these characters. So I think we should trust them that this show's going to be good, because they're already going to film season 2 when this show premieres. So like Marvel has a lot of faith, and this is only the second show within the Marvel Cinematic Universe to get a season 2. The only other show was Loki. Every other show, like WandaVision, Falcon, everything, they haven't gotten a season 2 yet. But Daredevil, already a season 2, and it's not even out yet. So Just have faith.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to have faith because Charlie Cox obviously Clocks. He obviously loves this role a lot. He was like made for this, so I'm sure he understands like the character really well at this point, and I'm hoping it's good. So that's all we can really hope for. And from what we've seen, like I think it's gonna be pretty good. So I have faith. I'm sure after I watch Daredevil season 3, I'm gonna be even more excited than ever I am. So. Definitely excited for that. All right, so next we're going to get into some gaming news. So the first thing is GTA 6 could cost as much as $100 according to some analysts. I'm fucking hoping not. So we are seeing this trend in gaming where you might be seeing this with some newer titles. So Dynasty Warriors Origins has done this. Civ 7 is another game that's doing this. Avowed. I don't think Monster Hunter is doing it, but they're basically charging $100 to play the game a few days early. So like, usually games come out on Tuesdays. Now that's like a privilege. Like now you have to pay like $100 to even do that now. Instead of like paying the $70 to play on like the Friday or whatever. So I feel like a lot of games are starting to do that a lot more frequently now. So because they're trying to get that $100 from you now, so you could play early. And I think a lot of these people are really hoping that GTA 6 would just push that barrier more. So other AAA games could sort of raise the price. And I feel like this is such an obvious mistake to not do that. There's a lot of people that don't even buy new games at 60, let alone 70 at this point. That charging that premium, like it's probably going to work for GTA 6. Like if GTA 6 does, launch for $100, like people are still going to buy it because it's fucking GTA 6. But if you're like some random AAA game that no one cares about, and you're starting to charge $100, and no one's gonna buy that shit, right? Like the barrier to entry is just too much at that point. So I feel like a lot of these shareholders and all these analytic people like don't understand like how this works. Like yes, like GTA 6 will sell no matter how much you charge because it's fucking GTA 6, and plus you could play that game forever if it comes with GTA Online. But with other AAA games, like people are gonna have like people are just gonna wait for sales at that point. And I feel like this is something that, the AAA gaming markets are already kind of collapsing in on itself just because of like how much games cost nowadays, how much the consumer has to buy for these games, they come out broken, all this fun stuff that we've talked about ad nauseum. So I feel like charging like $100 that's as the standard price is going to fully kill like AAA gaming. Like again, I don't think there's ever going to be a full gaming crash. Like I think people that say that are not really like, I think they're thinking too small. Like they're just like, oh, AAA gaming is like all of gaming, which is obviously not true. Like, there's a ton of fantastic games that come out AA or indie that come out like every year. But I definitely feel like we are starting to see this like collapse of like the AAA gaming market as we see it today, just because games just cost way too much fucking money to make. Even like Spider-Man 2, like that game sold a lot, but Insomniac still got a bunch of layoffs because it wasn't enough, because that game cost like $1 bajillion to make, right? So yeah, but I guess we'll see. But I'm really hoping this isn't true, because whenever I buy a new game for $70, I'm very like, god damn it. So yeah, hopefully that's not the case, but we live in uncertain times, so it probably could be the fucking case at this point.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 is one of the most hyped things in the world right now. I say this all the goddamn time, but even people who don't play video games are excited for GTA 6 because, people have been waiting for well over a decade for this title. And if it does cost as much as $100, I'm sure that will turn some people away. But I know a lot of people will be able to throw down that $100 bill and be like, yeah, sure. Give me that GTA 6, even if it is just for a few days early access, just like what like Civ 7's doing. It will work. And I know that a lot of games are doing this nowadays, with the whole early access or whatever. I think the first big one within my eyes was Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I think if you paid for that $100 version or whatever it was, you did get a few days early access, and it worked, because Dragon Ball fans, they don't play anything else. So, just seeing them be able to get away with this, is completely fine. But, afterwards it is just going to be a $70 price point. Now, will GTA 6 remain at $100 forever? I'm not entirely sure if that will happen, but I wouldn't put it past Rockstar from doing it because, depending on if they actually nail this properly, right? Like if they launch GTA 6 later this year in the fall and they launch it around October, November at $100, it will probably work. It will probably work because, for one, they will launch it in the fall, Christmas, easy. bam, that's a Christmas gift right there.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, people are just spending more money in general during that time of the year. So it makes sense for them to sort of think about maybe potentially charging $100 for people. Now, will I buy it at $100? Probably, maybe. I have no idea. But I think in general, for people or I guess game developers across the entire industry, will they start charging $100? I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised if every upcoming PlayStation Studios title, if GTA 6 works within that $100 price range, if from then on onwards, from like PlayStation Studios, like let's say freaking Wolverine, whenever that comes out, you get like 5 days early access for $100. That'll probably work, because also you are forcing people to buy the digital version of it, and you pretty much guarantee the money there, because you can't really refund a digital game at all, like once you buy it kind of thing. So it sort of secures their wallet, and it also secures an extra $30. And also they don't have to go through the middleman of like the retailer or anything like that. So there's just a lot more money to be made there. So yeah, I don't want games to cost $100. I think bumping it up to 70 was already a little steep for a lot of people. Only certain games have done that, especially from Nintendo. The only game that they've done it for 70 is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I don't know if the Switch 2 is going to be at $70 a pop. I have no idea. But if it does, Nintendo, it will work, because once again, just like with GTA, Nintendo is a anomaly within the games industry, I would say. So, yeah, I hope games don't cost $100, and I hope people don't look at GTA 6 costing potentially $100 that's like the end all be all kind of thing, because I think games will stay at around the $60 to $70 range.
Yeah, here's hoping to that, but we're never too sure what these publishers and developers are gonna do, because yikes, bro, it's a lot of money.
All right, so next bit of news. Insomniac Games' Ted Price announces retirement after 3 decades. Congrats to him. Congrats on retiring after a successful run at Insomniac Games. He's been there for over 30 years. Pretty much,
forever, man. Yeah,
pretty much from when the studio had like Spyro and Ratchet and Clank to now with the whole Spider-Man franchise. So yeah, good job on him. And now they got 3 new co-leads, I believe is what they're calling it. That is pretty good. I think that sort of, I guess, the day and age of like having one person at the top sort of manning everything, it's becoming a little stressful. So I think having 3 people where they all have hopefully equal amount of power and know exactly what's going on between the company is a good thing. Insomniac Games, they continue to make great and amazing titles, and I hope that they're able to move forward past everything that's been going on between the LA fires from the past attack that happened to them. So yeah, congrats to Ted Price, and hopefully Insomniac Games moving forward, we'll learn something new about whatever they're working on.
Yeah, I mean, this was a big deal when I saw him. Like, holy shit, Ted Price has been like, the founder and president of, Insomniac for forever. So it's crazy to see him like, finally retire. I mean, he's done a fantastic job, like Spyro, Ratchet and Clank, Resistance, Sunset Overdrive, and obviously the Marvel Spider-Man games have all been like just amazing games. And, it's definitely one of my favorite studios like ever. Obviously, how much I talk about Ratchet and Clank, you would know how much I like, Insomniac. And it is cool, it does make me a little worried, because I know Ted Price was sort of like the big component of Ratchet being like a thing still. Like, I remember seeing some interviews when he was, I think Spider-Man, when they were doing Spider-Man 2018, he was just like, oh yeah, like Ratchet is like such an important like thing to him personally, just because like each era that he's been through in life, like a new Ratchet has always been there. So wow, him, I'm like, so we'll see. But a lot of these co-founders or like these new co-heads, I think 2 of them were from the PS2 days, so that's pretty reassuring. And one of them was during, I think when Spider-Man was first in production. So I do think Insomniac is going to be in good hands, and he definitely does deserve the retirement, because 3 decades working in the gaming industry cannot be easy. He's seen a lot of big changes to how gaming is being made today and stuff, and he's made one of my favorite franchises ever, which, again, Ratchet and Clank. I fucking love that series. So seeing him go is really sad, but I am happy that he is able to leave in, a pretty good place. Obviously, Sonic has had some pretty rough times in, recent years with, with the Giga leak that happened, Spider-Man 2 having some issues and stuff. But, I think overall Sonic has had a really amazing track record throughout the years. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be missed, because, having a strong leadership is something not a lot of Western game developers really have, which I think it's something Japan has over a lot of American game studios, is that a lot of people get burnt out super fucking fast and leave. You know, like Neil Druckmann, right, said like, oh, like, you know, he doesn't know how many more games he'll make either, and he's only made like 2. So you know, and I don't blame them. Like it's very hard and draining.
Yeah.
But you know, it's something that you know, I feel like with a lot of Western game developers, you know, the games always feel so different from sequel to sequel, or like, you know, they do like something completely different, which is good, but it's also like it doesn't feel like the same studio anymore. With a lot of Japanese studios, like, oh, you could tell they really learned from the previous games, and they're just making better and better games. Like that's kind of why I really like the Final Fantasy 7 Remake to 7 Rebirth, because they had the same basic core development team from Remake to Rebirth, and you could tell all the big improvements they've done from Remake to Rebirth, and it really shows. Like, and you know, they're going into the next game, the last game for the 7 trilogy, and they're like, oh, we know exactly what we're doing. Like, and they're able to get games out really fast because they just gel with each other so well, right? So you know, not having like that cohesion is kind of worrying, but again, we'll see what Insomniac does once Wolverine actually does come out. But yeah, hopefully Ted Price has a good retirement, because he definitely fucking deserves it for making Insomniac games what they are today. But yeah, so next we have some Xbox news. So we have the Xbox Developer Direct. This was a pretty good one. They showed off a bunch of new games. So 3 of them are very new, which was the Doom: The Dark Ages, South of Midnight, and Expedition 33. But sort of the big surprise they had was Ninja Gaiden 4, which is really exciting. So this is obviously made by Team Ninja and co-developed by Platinum Games, actually.
Yep.
And it looks fucking awesome. So it definitely looks like a mix of the 3D Ninja Gaiden games and the ones that came out during the Xbox and 360 days, mixed with like sort of like Metal Gear Revengeance. It looks like it from Platinum. So very fast paced. You know, you still have all the classic Ninja Gaiden stuff, like the wall jumping and like the fucking drop move he does or whatever the fuck, and it looks sick. Like, it looks awesome. You know, I love Platinum games like a ton, and I feel like Platinum has been kind of in a rut lately. You know, I know a lot of people were like really mixed on Bayonetta 3 in general, just because the story and like just the gameplay wasn't as good as like people were hoping for. I personally thought Bayonetta 3 was pretty good, but you know, I thought Bayonetta 2 was a lot better. But then yeah, things like Astro Chain, I really like Astro Chain. But then yeah, things like fucking Babylon Fall that failed in like a week. What else they released? They released some like real stinkers lately. So yeah, Platinum has been kind of in the back foot. So I'm really hoping with Ninja Gaiden 4 they're able to get the name back out there. And same thing with Ninja Gaiden. You know, people love Ninja Gaiden, you know, famously hard games. My brother is really hyped for this because he really enjoyed those 360 Xbox games a lot. I personally never play them, but it's cool because they shadow dropped Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. So this is based off the re-release version of Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, I believe it's called. And this basically gives a new coat of paint in Unreal Engine 5. It looks really pretty now. I don't think they really added much more than that besides it like a fresh new coat of paint. There's blood now because apparently the Sigma version didn't have blood for some fucking reason. So, you know, there's a bunch of blood and decapitations, all the fun stuff you would expect from a game like this. And, you know, the game is just as hard as, you know, people remembered back then. You know, I saw some streamers being like, this game is fucking hard as shit. It's like, yeah, you know, like before Dark Souls, like, you know, the Ninja Gaiden games were like the shit. Like they were like the hardest fucking thing you could ever play. So, and my brother's actually going back and playing the first Xbox Ninja Gaiden game, and he's like, yo, this shit is way harder than I remember. So yeah, those games are obviously really hard. I am interested in playing them because I do want to play Ninja Gaiden 4 when it comes out, because I just really like Platinum games a lot, and this looks like a nice return to form for them. But you know, I do want to, I like to go back and play the older games in a franchise if I could. So we'll see if I get it, because, you know, I know they're hard and I'm fucking washed. So we'll see if I'm good.
Fucking old man hands, bro. Shit is not good.
But looks great, though. Really, really good surprise announcement there. I don't know if you have anything to add with Ninja Gaiden, just in general.
I mean, you know, just talking about the earlier announcements with, you know, getting a official release date for Doom, South of Midnight, and Expedition 33. Doom, May 15th. South of Midnight, April 8th, and Expedition 33, April 21st. So yeah, April and May, Xbox got that shit on lock. You know, like they got really good games lined up for them, and also a lot of those games are also multi-platinum. I think South of Midnight is PC and Xbox, but the other two, Doom and Expedition 33, are coming to PlayStation. So yes, that is pretty cool. And with the whole Ninja Gaiden thing, obviously everyone was losing their fucking mind because like Ninja Gaiden 4, I feel like anything with the number 4 is always like crazy because, you know, a lot of things end within 3 or like a trilogy kind of thing. So, you know, to get a 4th of anything is always insane. You know, as someone who has always heard about Ninja Gaiden and has always seen those games at GameStop, but never actually picked them up and tried them because, you know, I've always heard those games are really, really tough. You know, I kind of do want to go back and play those earlier Ninja Gaiden 3D games because, you know, they've been re-released and redone so many times. You know, like I did like a little bit of research, and I think the Sigma games on the PlayStation 3 were like the newest versions of them, and then I think they also did a recent re-release of them on the Switch and PlayStation 4. So definitely thinking about buying that. Maybe not, because, you know, old man hands, and also I don't have as much time as I used to when I was a kid.
Right.
But yeah, you know, Ninja Gaiden 4 is definitely very, very exciting, and I think that is such a, you know, insane announcement, and hopefully, you know, like you said, with everything regarding Platinum, you know, that they are able to get back on the right track and making really good and strong, solid games. So
yeah. And with the other announcements, you know, obviously Doom looks fucking awesome. I'm very excited for Doom. You know, them sort of explaining like the different gameplay styles. With, you know, 2016 was a nice return to form. I fucking loved that game when it came out. Doom Eternal I really loved because it's a very twitch shooter, very fast paced, jumping everywhere, switching weapons all the time. I love Doom Eternal a lot. And this game's sort of taking more of the classic approach of being like, you're slower, but you're basically built like a fucking tank this time, with more open world gameplay. And I think that sounds cool. I really like that each Doom game has its own identity because, you know, it doesn't just feel like you're doing the same thing over and over. Like Doom 2016 to Eternal was very different. And I'm sure Eternal to Doom the Dark Ages is going to be very different as well. So very excited for this game. I hope my PC could fucking run it because the system requirements are really high, but we'll see once it comes out. If not, I might have to bite the bullet and buy it on fucking PlayStation, but hope not, because I don't like playing first-person shooters on a controller, but I guess we'll see. So yeah, that's coming out May 15th. Really awesome for that. South of Midnight looks really cool as well. I love the unique art style for this game. You know, when it does the cutscenes, it's doing like sort of like the Spider-Verse thing where it's like half the frame rate, but it's like, you know, on purpose. It's not like because it can't run it, like, you know. So I think the game has a really unique style. I really like the New Orleans like sort of like style. They have like a specific name to say during the direct, like the style they're emulating. But it's a really cool
Southern Gothic world.
Yeah, Southern Gothic, rather. Yeah, that's what they said. And it's just a really, really cool aesthetic. I'm not too sold on like the combat because it looks very like, you know, generic, like sort of like, you know, Arkham looking combat or whatever. But everything else about the game looks really neat. Like I love the art style like a lot. So we'll see once that game actually comes out. It does seem like a Game Pass game, like people will play on there and not like actually buy it. But we'll see, because the game does have a really cool setting. And then Expedition 33, I'm still really excited for this game. This game looks really sick. You know, just on Twitter, they said like they ran out of special edition or collector's edition physical releases, and that's great. People are obviously very excited for this game, and I am as well. You know, just having like this fresh take on like sort of like a classic PS1 JRPG, but, you know, is made in France. So they're adding like this like French sort of like, you know, aesthetic to it. You know, you have like the cool world map, like the old PS1 Final Fantasy games. You have all the crazy party members. The combat looks a lot of fun. Interesting setting. Yeah, the game just looks really cool. And I'm very excited to try this game out when actually it does come out, because I think having there's not a lot of JRPGs that have that sort of reaction-based combat like the Mario and Luigi games do. Like, it's mostly just Mario and Luigi, Paper Mario, and I believe that's it. Most turn-based games are obviously just strictly turn-based. So it's going to be cool to see another studio's take on that sort of combat system. So yeah, very excited for Expedition 33 still. Definitely got my eyes on it. And it's coming out at a good time because there's not a lot of things coming out in April. Actually, like, Microsoft really nailed a lot of release dates because April and May are pretty empty at the moment. So these games coming out at those times is fantastic. So yeah, very, very strong direct. I thought it was really good.
All right. So next bit of news we got here is Split Fiction. We got official co-op gameplay. So, you know, pretty much what I would say me and Damian expected is, you know, just more of what It Takes Two, but just within a sci-fi fantasy setting. And it looks great. It looks awesome. I think that was such a strong point of It Takes Two. And what really surprised both of us when we played it was that, like, yeah, every single time the gameplay switched, the game was still a lot of fun and really solid to play. So that's just more of that here. You know, and I'm sold on it. I just cannot wait for this game to come out. You know, obviously it would be nice to have a lot more games to be announced and then released in, you know, such a quick time frame. But I know within the state of AAA gaming, that is like nearly impossible. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for this game, and this gameplay trailer really sold me on that.
Yeah, it really just seems like It Takes Two on crack. Like it seems like everything they took from that game, they're like expanding on it like tenfold. Obviously the game looks very pretty now. The gameplay variety looks insane, even more insane than It Takes Two. Like you're doing like fucking like skiing and like fucking on hoverboards and bikes and platforming, and you're monsters now. Like it seems like there's a new thing like every level, which what made It Takes Two so fun to play as well. And in this gameplay trailer, they said like there's these optional portals you could go to.
Oh yeah, I was like, those are optional.
Yeah, and like I'm surprised those are optional because like that looks like just as much work as a main level right there. Like, so yeah, definitely seems like I'm gonna be doing those as well. So yeah, it looks like they have another banger on their hands. Haze Light, just fantastic games. A Way Out, It Takes Two, this game. It looks like it's gonna be another banger. So definitely excited to see how this game goes once I actually play it, but it looks like it's going to be another really, really fun time. So yeah, very, very excited for this game. Definitely going to be a Game of the Year contender, I believe.
Yeah.
All right, and last bit of news is actually fresh off the presses. This just happened. MultiVersus is fucking dead. So MultiVersus will be ending online play and delisting on May 30th. However, if you do have it downloaded, I forget when because I'm trying to read it. But you could play it offline. So
anytime between February 4th to the 30th, as long as you download it, install it, and you log in during Season 5, you'll be able to play it offline.
Yeah, so you'll be able to play it offline. So if you want to just like have it on your console or in your PC, you can still play offline co-op or multiplayer or whatever, like treat it like a Smash Brothers game if you want. But I think the writing on the walls for this game were very apparent. Like both times it kind of like went through restructuring. So I have about 20 hours in this game when it first launched. Like I don't remember when it first launched, but I thought it was pretty fun. Like, I thought the idea of having like this more team-based Smash Brothers game with Warner Brothers characters. They have a bunch of like cartoon characters from Cartoon Network. You had a bunch of DC heroes and stuff, some other obscure movies and stuff like that. That was really neat. And, I thought the gameplay was actually pretty good once the game first released. This was before it's like restructuring. It was floaty and it wasn't as like precise as Smash Brothers, but it was a good time. Like I thought the combat was fun. The animations were really neat. The voice acting was good. Everything was like authentic and stuff. Like I liked the art style. And I had a really good time with it. But then after this like sort of like closed beta period, they never like specified it was like an actual closed beta or open beta or whatever. But then they shut the game down for like a year. And then they started restructuring it. And then the game came out, I believe last year it came out. Like officially. And then the game got so much fucking worse. Like the monetization got really bad. The combat felt even more floaty. It actually felt like you were underwater. Like it felt terrible. I don't know what they did. I forgot what even the improvements were, but the combat just felt so much worse after this like rebalancing of the game. And yeah, that just completely killed the game for me. Like it just didn't feel good anymore. It took forever to get certain characters. I believe they didn't do like rotation of characters anymore. Some shit. Yeah, I played this really shitty like single player mode to get like enough currency to get characters or whatever. It just wasn't good like at all. So they lost a lot of players because of that, and then just was never able to recover. Which sucks because again, I thought the game had a lot of really good potential. Just like any live service game, there was a lot of potential there, but they just kept fumbling each step of the way. And I don't really know if this was like Player First Games' fault, which is the developers, or I don't know if it was Warner Brothers' fault. I'm gonna lean more towards Warner Brothers because they always mess everything up whenever they're involved. But yeah, they had a lot of chances and they basically missed like every chance they got with this game. There was a lot of goodwill when the game first came out, but it just like evaporated over time and just wasn't able to keep up with the other live service games coming out and just kept bleeding player numbers. So, very unfortunate to see, people losing their jobs is never like a good thing. Like we always talk about with layoffs and studio closures and stuff, but it's nice that you can still like play the game like for the foreseeable future if you have it downloaded at least. So, but yeah. Sad, but it doesn't really shock me or surprise me because the game did had like a second chance and it kind of did fumble it as well. So, but that's just the way of live service games, and I'm really hoping this trend kind of stops soon because a lot of studios and games have closed down due to this trend. So I'm really hoping now we just kind of focus on just making either single player games or just a good game, right? Just make a good game. Don't focus on like the monetization. Don't focus on all of this shit. Just make a good game. I know that's easier said than done. Like I know you need money to make like a good game and stuff, but we could do better than this at this point. So, but I guess we'll see in the future.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say on MultiVersus as someone who didn't play it, but hearing you and our friend Kofi, who's a big Smash Brothers guy, talk about it a lot, I'm like, okay, yeah, like there seems to be a lot of issues surrounding the game, and for some reason when they relaunched it, it was just bad. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it just has to do. My personal theory, is the fact that a lot of these Smash Brothers clones don't ever think about them as like games, right? They're like, all right, like what can we do to like improve on Smash, right? There's nothing you can do to fucking improve on Smash. Just make a good fucking game. Like actually just like copy and paste certain things if you have to. It doesn't really matter. Like just make a good game and people will flock to it. I think it is just hard to make a platform fighter when your competition is Smash Brothers, right? Like people are still playing fucking Melee all of these years later. And people are still playing Smash Ultimate because that is just the newest one that people are gravitating towards. And it is just hard to break into that sort of format. Obviously, there are some, I guess, outliers like Rivals of Aether and all of that other stuff, Brawlhalla, if you even want to count that one also. But, there's a couple of platform fighters that have garnered a fan base and have garnered a community and have continued to find new players and people continue to play on a daily basis. With MultiVersus, it just seemed like that they just kept messing up, especially after, like you said, with the whole beta thing, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna restructure everything, and we just fucking made it worse. I don't know what they were doing during that restructuring period. I don't know who they were having test the game out or whatever, but it was obviously not the right call. So but it is good that they are keeping the game alive kind of for the next few months, and to anyone that wants to keep it on their console, on their account, as long as they have it downloaded between February 4th to May 30th, they are able to continue playing it offline after May 30th. So at least there's that, but it does suck that a whole live service Smash Brothers game is now just gone, kaput, and not even like a whole cycle of it has really seen the light of day. I don't even know if anyone really watched like MultiVersus tournaments or anything like that. Like there wasn't even a chance for this game to really find a place within the, I guess, like the Smash Brothers community, if you will. But yeah, it is what it is.
Very unfortunate, but had a lot of potential. It had the IP potential, but it just kind of failed everything else with the combat and with the monetization especially. So yeah.
See, like it might seem simple with Smash Brothers having everyone and their mother in that roster, but you also have to make a good game. So
yeah, and Sakurai really nailed it, so.
All right, so now let's get into the final part of the show where we are going to talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episodes 1 and 2. So before we talk about that, let's just talk about the voice actor coming out and saying the woke comments. He said something along the lines of he was afraid that the show was going to be woke, which obviously caused a huge controversy legit a day before the fucking show premiered. And some people were like, oh, now I don't want to watch it and all of that other stuff. So my initial reaction to that was like, all right, like that's not like a good look, but I'm still going to watch the show, not just because I love Spider-Man, but also one person's actions shouldn't punish the rest of the people that worked on it. Like the other voice actors, the other animators, the entire team, the crew, the editors, literally a entire, like hundreds of people worked on this show. This one guy who's like the main character should not fumble the rest of these other people's opportunities. And obviously, even if you didn't watch the show because of those comments, that's fine. Fucking Disney already renewed the show for season 3, and they already have season 2 like in the works, maybe almost done. I don't even remember, but Disney already has like they are invested in this show whether you like it or not. But yeah, it does seem weird that he did say those comments, especially when I think one of the showrunners or writers for the show was like, I think he misspoke, which I think is fair. I think that is fair to say because I don't think he necessarily understood what those comments meant, saying that like he was afraid that it was going to be woke or whatever. I think he just misunderstood what the meaning meant.
Yeah, honestly, like I don't even know, like at this point, because we're gonna talk about the show, and like the show, like is very woke. If you want to use those words
in a good way,
yeah. If I use those words, like I hate that fucking word, but it's just like that's what it is, right? I guess to them. So I don't really know what he was even talking about when he made that comment, but I'm just gonna. Obviously, like we're both against like it's just so stupid whenever people bring this stuff up. But Yeah, I am probably on the train. Like, he probably didn't misspoke at this point. Like, I don't know what the fuck even was the context for this, like him saying any of this. So I'm gonna wait until he actually like makes a statement and be like, oh, maybe I like misunderstood like what was being asked or whatever. But I guess we'll see once more comes out, because apparently I think the creator of the show was just like, yeah, he probably like didn't mean it like that. So so yeah, and like you said, I don't think we should like not watch the show just because like maybe he potentially misspoke or like punish everyone else for like not fucking saying stuff like that. So, but yeah, either way, he probably misspoke. So we're just gonna leave it at that for now until more stuff comes out. Then we'll either dog on him or be like, okay, that's fine. So we'll see.
Also, shout out to the Collider journalist Adam Blevins, because immediately after that comment, he explained what woke meant, and I was like, this guy's a fucking G,
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll just move on from that and actually talk about the show. These are only the first 2 episodes, and I think they did put out a release schedule for it, which I will find in just a bit. But overall, these first 2 episodes, it's not bad. I mean, I believe the first pitch for this show was to just tell the origins of the MCU Peter Parker and sort of what happened before he met Tony Stark and everything like that. But the show was already going to be different by having Norman Osborn be like that Tony Stark person. So then they kind of just went with the whole what if scenario. And, the first episode goes all in with it, with fucking Doctor Strange and the symbiote monster, then having that spider come down and bite Peter. And, like I do like a lot of the changes that they've done with the show, not just the woke ones, but just like overall, just like the structuring of it. There are definitely a couple of like MCU references, like the what's it called? Like when he stops that car from hitting the bus, that's one of the clips that Tony shows Tom. He's like, hey, look, like that's you, right? Holy shit, 40 miles per hour and everything like that. I'm like, oh wow, like they showed that within the show. And then obviously towards the end of episode 1, I believe, we see him find that DVD player, then him go upstairs and that entire recreation of the scene from Civil War, but now with Norman Osborn. So yeah, I really do like a lot of the changes that they're making, and I think that it is a fine version of Spider-Man so far. I think a lot of people are against the fact that he got bit after Uncle Ben died, which I'm wondering how he's gonna learn that lesson of great power comes great responsibility without Ben telling it to him. Obviously, maybe May could do it, but I don't want to see May die. And also, I'm not entirely sure why he's being Spider-Man, other than that he's a good guy, right? Which I think there should be a little bit more to that for Peter Parker.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I do feel like I saw some people complaining on Twitter too about like it being like too, like not even like there's too much like MCU influence. I guess like there's a lot more. This is a world that heroes are very like a thing and are accepted. Like you see Norman with a picture of Captain America, obviously Doctor Strange in the beginning. So this is obviously a world where like heroes already exist and stuff. Like it's not like the Sam Raimi movies where it's basically just like Peter, like like Spider-Man's like his own thing, right? So that kind of like does a whole spin on it already. But like I don't know, I guess we'll see as the show like evolves, like how he's gonna grow as Peter and stuff. Like I'm sure they're gonna find a way. It's probably gonna be with one of his friends, like probably I'm right forgetting his name,
Lonnie.
Football. Yeah, it's probably gonna be something with him. I feel like either he's gonna become a villain or he's gonna be like he's gonna die or something's gonna happen like with them. I feel like they're doing something with that. That's gonna end up making him like learn like a harsher lesson of like being Spider-Man, like as we all know. But in terms of like how I do find it weird how he got the spider, which is like, oh, it was just from a Doctor Strange portal, and then the spider comes up and bites him. I mean, I guess not as weird as like him just getting bitten anywhere, but yeah, it does seem a little like weird how that was just a thing. And like you said, oh, Peter's just a good guy, so he's just Spider-Man in this universe. Like, yeah. Okay. Like I found it interesting how they did the origin of him getting the spider bite, and then just jump cuts like a few months later where he's like doing Spider-Man stuff already. So, but yeah, like overall, I think right now it's pretty good. Like I think it's hard to judge because I think the last good Spider-Man show we got was Spectacular Spider-Man. That was like 2008. Yeah. And that was a very good show. Like that was obviously like for a lot of people, like us included, like one of the best Spider-Man. Yeah. So. And ever since then, we've gotten basically jack shit in terms of Spider-Man shows. Like we have a lot, but they're either baby shows or like not good, right? Like they're just like whatever. So this is, I feel like, the first time since Spectacular where we've gotten like a show that's actually trying to be like a good Spider-Man show, if that makes any sense, right?
And you could see that. I believe they even said it themselves that Spectacular Spider-Man influences the show a lot, because you could see them, sort of trinketing certain things. Like they place Harry Osborn in the first episode, but we don't know Harry that Harry is also Norman's son, kind of thing. Like we don't know that yet within the show. Dr. Connors is there, and Black woman, hell yeah. Lonnie Lincoln is actually Tombstone, but I don't think they're actually going to turn him into Tombstone for this show, in sort of context or whatever. So, they're doing a lot of little hints and nods to like potentially other Spider-Man villains that will pop up, because we know that a lot of them will happen. Like I know Doc Ock is supposed to appear, etc., etc. So like they are taking a lot of notes from Spectacular, where they're like, okay, like if we want to introduce this character, how will we insert them into the world? And they're like planning ahead, and I'm sure that's why there's like 3 seasons fucking confirmed for this show, because they have a lot of stuff that they want to do. And if these first 2 episodes continue to live up throughout this first season, I'm all in for it.
Yeah, so like they clearly have like greater plans. I'm hoping like to like make this into like a full ass thing, because if they have this many episodes already planned out, I'm sure they have like a roadmap like where they want to take this story and stuff. But yeah, right now I think it's pretty good. Like I think besides like the whole woke comments with the voice actor, I think he's doing a pretty good Peter Parker. Like I feel like we haven't seen. Like I know like Tom Holland is a younger Peter Parker, but it definitely feels more like in line with like the more classic, like really nerdy Peter Parker sort of thing. Like he's like very cringe and stuff like that's just kind of how he is. So so I think that they did a good job with that. Obviously all the differences, like Dr. Connors being a Black woman, I think that stuff is pretty neat to see. It's just nice spins in general. Like I know some people are gonna have problems with that because
representation matters. That's all I'm gonna say.
And someone did a really good clip, because I didn't even know. Spectacular Spider-Man came out in 2008, and this was in 2008. And there was a clip where the I think the showrunner or creator of that show was just like, New York in 2008 isn't just Caucasian people anymore. Like there's a bunch of different races, and so we changed the races. I'm like, yeah, and that was like in 2008, and New York is even more diverse than it was, So yeah, anyway. Besides all that, I think it's cool how they're like remix some stuff, and every Spider-Man story is gonna be slightly different. Like we always say, like Spider-Man is very you could do a lot of things with this character, and being able to change little things and twist the story around. Like honestly, I didn't even know he was gonna be Norman Osborn's like apprentice. Like I didn't watch anything about this show. Like all I knew was like the art style, and that's it. Like I didn't really look at any trailers or whatever. So that was a surprise at the end of episode 2, where I'm like, oh shit, he just knows he's Spider-Man, like off the rip. Like that's pretty neat. So them doing these differences and stuff, I think all those are really neat as well. And honestly, like I feel like the biggest sore point about this show is the animation. Like I feel like like it's weird because sometimes it looks good and sometimes it looks bad, and there's like no real in between. Like it kind of is like sometimes like I get what they're going for, like it's like a moving comic book. Like I think episode 1 illustrated that, and the opening illustrate that the best, where it's like it's going from comic panel to comic panel, and even some scenes where it looks kind of awkward with where you just see the NPCs just like fucking standing there. But like I get what they're trying to go for. It's like kind of like a comic book page, and then the 2 main characters talking. Like they kind of pop out more. Like I kind of get it, but the execution just feels kind of like off and like just not good enough. Like if they had like more time or money, I felt like this could look a lot better. And like the web swinging doesn't look very good either. Like I don't think like
sometimes it looks good.
Sometimes it looks good, and sometimes it looks like kind of awkward. I do think the fights look pretty good. Like I think all the hand to hand stuff has looked pretty neat so far. But yeah, the show's animation quality is really inconsistent, but if the writing like continues to be like pretty good, like I think it'll be fine. Like people like Invincible a lot, and like I know the animation in that show is constantly dogged on, like from like a lot of people, like it's like not the best. So I'm sure if we get over it, it'll be fine. And I do like what they're going for, like I said before, but I just feel like the execution is not quite there. So.
Yeah, shout out to Leonardo Romero. He is the lead character designer for this show, and he does some amazing fucking art. And I love
the 2D art looks great. Like in the credits when they were showing like the concept art, I'm like, this looks great. Like that looks really good.
Make it 2D.
It's it should have just been in 2D, but like even the 3D models look good. It's just kind of the way everyone moves and stuff, So.
You know, and like, don't let that be, I guess, like a sign of us like hating CGI animation. I mean, like, me personally, like, I don't mind if a show is fully CG.
I mean, look at Spider-Verse, like that's all CG and it looks fucking incredible.
You know, like there are very, very good examples of when CGI is needed and when CGI is good. Like one of my favorite anime movies is The First Slam Dunk, and that entire fucking movie is CGI and it looks great. You know, like there's great ways to make CGI animation, and I think that this show has not found it just yet. You know, I hope that maybe within later episodes or even later seasons that the CGI animation is still able to, you know, be better, because a lot of the shots and even in some of the action sequences for me personally, I found it to be a little stiff. Like when he's fighting that guy within that burning building, when he does like the backflip or whatever, or like he like crouches under him, I'm like, ooh, that looks a little rough. I don't know. But you know, like I will deal with it just because the writing of this show and sort of like the characters and everything like that are very, very good. I really like the way that they are positioning this Spider-Man and this Peter Parker. You know, it does feel a little weird to not have Uncle Ben die after he gets the powers, so it's kind of weird to see where that's gonna go. And apparently there is a prequel comic to sort of tie in everything maybe before that time, but even then I think some people are reading it, and I think it's only 2 out of 5 issues right now, and they're like, I have no idea where the fuck this comic's going. So you know, we're obviously still in it. I hope that, you know, within later seasons the animation gets better, or even within later episodes. But I think that this is going to be a fantastic setup. And obviously, you know, with the whole, you know, just having like Norman Osborn be his like mentor figure is going to be a great fucking like climax once he finally becomes Green Goblin and he's like, I know all your moves, Peter. I know who you are. And everything, like, because, you know, like obviously the Spider-Man Green Goblin dynamic is obviously one of the biggest within his mythos. So once that finally does happen within, I don't know, like season 3 or some shit, it's going to be great. So, you know, I am very excited to see where this show goes, even if it is fucking woke as shit. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you know, like I said before, I think it's just really cool to have like a new Spider-Man show that isn't like actually for toddlers. Like it's nice to have like, you know, like an actual like no disrespect, like, you know, I think it's fine that, you know, kids have like, you know, something like that, but, you know, it's nice to have something that's like more for like all ages, like everyone could just enjoy this. You know, I definitely enjoyed that. And, you know, I think a lot of the writing is good too, like, you know, like they curse a bit, like I feel like they're not like fumbling to be like oh, we gotta be like rated G or whatever, right? Like they could just do whatever they want. Like they feel like actual teenagers, and like, you know, like the writing just feels like pretty good for what it is, honestly. Like it, you know, I saw people on Twitter talking about it, like, oh, like this actually is like pretty damn good. And when I watch them, like, yeah, like I think they kind of nail a lot of the characters. Like I like what's her face, Nico, a lot. I think she's
Nico.
pretty neat. As like a fun character.
She has a lot of clever lines. She's like, yeah, you better ask her out before someone else does. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess she's gay. I guess she's gay. You know what? That's fine. Dude. I totally love that.
That's why this dude's comments make no sense, because the show is very like progressive. So,
and you know, just like the last thing that I want to touch on was that one scene where, you know, Peter sort of gets the money back and sort of gets that woman, and he's like, do you want to call the cops? I don't know. It seems like that she was just down on her. Like, I'm like, yeah, that is fucking Spider-Man. Like that is Spider, you know, like just giving people a second chance, you know, not wanting them to be punished and sort of have the worst outcome for them, you know, just like give her a second chance. You know, she's saying that she won't do it. If she does it again, then yeah, fucking throw her ass in jail. But, you know, everyone has one of those days where they feel like the world's against them, and, you know, shit happens. And, you know, I'm glad that, you know, we have that aspect of Peter, but I'm still waiting to see, you know, what's actually going to trigger him to be like, oh yeah, I have to be Spider-Man kind of thing, other than the fact that, you know, he has the powers, right?
Yeah. You know, I'm just hoping the show doesn't get too bloated with like all the other, because I saw the trailer they released like a day ago, and there's like a lot of like villains they're already showing. Like I thought there was like Doc Ock, like Daredevil was there, and like some other people. So like hopefully it doesn't get too bloated, and you know, hopefully they kind of keep the other sort of hero, like the Marvel heroes, like at a minimum for now, just because I just want to see like this Peter Parker kind of like become his own character at first. Like I'm not against, like some people are very against like any heroes ever showing up ever. It's like, oh no, Doctor Strange, Captain America should never show up. Iron Man, I think Iron Man is supposed to show up at some point. Like people are very against that. Like I'm fine with it. I think it could be like cool dynamics or whatever. But I do think like I do want this Peter to sort of like, you know, become his own first, and then like they could do that. So
either they've never picked up a comic book, or they've only watched the Sam Raimi and sort
basically
of Mark Webb films. Yeah, and they're like, Spider-Man has to be in his own world. He can't touch with anyone else. And I'm like, Well, this is like fucking the Marvel universe, right? Like it's okay for him to interact and sort of talk about and mention other heroes because that makes sense. I will, sort of agree with the point of, having the spider come from a different dimension and do all that other crazy shit. Yeah. Like I was rewatching it this morning, and I was like, oh yeah, this fucking intro. I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, what are we doing here with Doctor Strange and everything like that? But it is what it is. That's how they're trying to position this Spider-Man and sort of how he becomes Spider-Man and everything like that. But yeah, so far so good. Is there anything else you would like to add, Damian?
No, that's it. I'm looking forward to watching more of the show. Wait, do we know how many episodes it's supposed to be? Or
yes, so it is 10 episodes. The full schedule is out on Twitter, which I forgot to sort of point out earlier. So February 5th will be episodes 3 through 5. February 12th will be 6 through 8, which episode 6 is Duel with the Devil. So I'm excited for that one. And then the season finale is February 19th, episodes 9 and 10. So, not bad. We're going to have a nice streamline of Spider-Man content from this show throughout February. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 156. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.